Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine you're going through loose change on an ordinary day, half distracted and barely paying attention, when suddenly a small copper-colored disc catches your eye and makes your heart skip because today we're exposing one of the wildest, most unbelievable, and most talked about stories in modern coin collecting history, the tale of the 2017 United States 1-cent coin that collectors around the world speculate could reach a face value of more than $348 million because of the extreme, layered, and almost myth-level errors tied to its rumored existence. And while this sounds outrageous, unbelievable, or downright impossible, the fascination surrounding it has captured millions of viewers because people love the idea that something so ordinary, something literally worth a single cent, could hide the rarest combination of minting defects ever recorded, turning pocket change into generational wealth in seconds. So let's break down how 1 cent from Denver in 2017 became the center of one of the most explosive and trending coin discussions online, why experts debate whether this object is a once-in-a-civilization misstrike, how its alleged traits push the boundaries of what we know about the minting process, and what possibilities make collectors go absolutely insane over the mere rumor of its existence, while the internet pushes it to viral status every few months as people revisit the question, what if I have it and don't even know it? Yet, the foundation of the legend begins with the 2017 production year, a year that already created buzz because of the 2017 p-cent, the first Philadelphia penny with a visible mint mark, but the Denver production, which normally runs smoothly with huge quantities of well-struck shield cents, became the focus of the rumor mill when whispers started spreading that a batch of coins left the Denver mint bearing an impossible combination of layered misalignments, doubled designs, die deterioration marks, improper alloy surface patches, and planchet anomalies so severe that any one of these errors alone could make a coin valuable, but all together they would create something practically priceless. According to the story, this mysterious 2017 cent allegedly displays a stacked sequence of errors beginning with a dramatic off-center strike that pushes part of the design deep toward the rim while leaving another portion floating strangely toward the center, followed by either a Class 4 or Class V double die effect, depending on which specialist you ask, that reportedly makes the shield design appear to shift backward like a shadow, while the legend, United States of America, carries ghost-like impressions from a rotated hub. And if that weren't enough, the reverse plating supposedly reveals tiny exposed patches of an improperly mixed alloy, giving the surface a mottled texture that looks almost like the speckled flaws found on transitional planchets from earlier decades. Some collectors claim the obverse portrait of Lincoln on this coin looks stretched or elongated as if struck by a slightly tilted die, which might create angular pressure marks around the jawline and collar, and others swear the date, 2017, appears doubled in 2 different directions, something that would normally require multiple distinct hubbing accidents that should not occur post-1996 due to changes in hubbing technology. Yet the story persists because the coin community loves the impossible, the improbable, the once-and-forever anomaly, and a coin containing a collection of errors that should statistically never happen simultaneously creates the perfect storm for viral fascination. Part of the hype also comes from the idea that this mythical coin may have escaped in circulation unnoticed, hiding somewhere in a jar, purse, coffee tin, or forgotten drawer, and because millions of 2017 cents exist, the notion that one extraordinary piece could be sitting in someone's pocket right now fuels endless search excitement, turning every ordinary penny hunt into something charged with adrenaline. So collectors obsess over diagnostics, imagining what the strike pressure would look like at 4 degrees of die tilt, how metal flow lines on the rim would behave if the planchet shifted left milliseconds before impact, how a misannealed copper-plated zinc disc would respond when pressed between dies with uneven pressure, or how an improperly prepared die might create doubling inconsistent. With modern single-squeeze hubbing, the debates become heated because experts argue over the physics, noting that multiple severe errors should cancel each other out, while others counter that unprecedented minting accidents can occur when mechanical failures stack at precisely the wrong, or right, moment. And this tension between possibility and impossibility is exactly why the story spreads like wildfire every time someone posts a video claiming to have discovered a strange 2017 cent with a scratch here, a shadow there, or a plating bubble that could theoretically indicate something more. Even though most of these finds turn out to be minor mechanical doubling, environmental damage, or post-mint contact marks, the dream remains alive because every viral coin legend survives on the hope that one authentic extraordinary specimen exists, waiting to be verified. If such a piece were ever authenticated with the extreme list of rumor defects, multidirectional doubling, major off center strike, tilted die imprint, transitional style alloy issues, distorted portrait contour lines, shifted motto placement, or even a rare mule pairing between mismatched obverse and reverse designs, the auction world would erupt because multi-error coins fetch exponentially more than single-error pieces. And crossing multiple categories of rare mistakes into one physical coin would make it historically significant enough for ultra-elite collectors, investors, museums, and institutions to fight over ownership, which is why speculative estimates push fictional values into the hundreds of millions. Naturally, no public sale has documented a 2017 cent approaching such an amount, but the viral narrative thrives because people love imagining the most extreme outcome, a 1-cent coin selling for more than world-famous gold rarities, more than legendary numismatic icons like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, more than any coin ever sold in recorded history, and the fantasy of a regular modern penny surpassing all of them turns into irresistible content that spreads across YouTube, TikTok, and social platforms, building momentum as creators amplify the legend with their own twists, theories, and high-voltage speculation. Part of this trend's popularity comes from the emotional hook, the idea that wealth could be hiding in plain sight, that an ordinary person could stumble upon a life-changing treasure without needing expertise or investment, and this universal appeal drives millions of viewers to keep watching, keep searching, keep dreaming, and keep sharing the story until it becomes a cultural phenomenon rather than a simple numismatic rumor. Whether the legendary $348 million error penny exists or remains an exciting piece of collector folklore, it undeniably motivates massive public engagement, inspiring people to examine their change more carefully, learn about genuine mint errors, appreciate the extreme precision required in modern minting, and develop a deeper interest in the history and craftsmanship behind the coins we often overlook. And as this story continues to trend with new creators adding fresh energy to the mystery, the only certainty is that the 2017 1 cent will remain a symbol of what keeps coin collecting thrilling, the possibility that hidden value, hidden history, and hidden fortune could sit quietly in the most ordinary object you touch every day. So if you enjoy discovering unbelievable coin stories like this and want more rare money mysteries, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next big find. Next, 2008 1 cent USA coin. Imagine finding a simple 2008 1 cent coin in your change only to discover that this tiny copper-plated treasure carries a shocking face value of $349 million, a number so outrageous and history-shaking that it forces every coin collector, treasure hunter, and everyday viewer to rethink what they know about modern pennies. Because the idea that a coin minted for 1 cent could transform into one of the most extraordinary financial anomalies ever recorded instantly hooks curiosity, sparks adrenaline, and drags the mind into the world of minting mysteries, striking errors, rare possibilities, and the breathtaking journey that turns ordinary pocket change into legendary wealth. So today we dive deep into the bizarre and electrifying rise of the 2008 1 cent coin and the countless hidden factors that could push an otherwise common Denver minted penny into the realm of unimaginable value, beginning with the complex minting year itself, because 2008 was a transitional and high-pressure period for the United States Mint, marked by intense production schedules, metal composition inconsistencies, die maintenance challenges, and rapidly evolving coin handling machinery, creating a perfect storm for micro-errors, rare mistakes, and unexpected anomalies to form, many of which went unnoticed as millions of coins flowed into circulation. And this combination of rapid output and subtle imperfections opened the door to a small number of coins acquiring incredibly unusual characteristics, beginning with off-center strikes that pushed parts of Lincoln's portrait dangerously close to the rim, sometimes revealing dramatic gaps and misalignments that collectors go wild for because these errors prove the coin escaped quality control in a way that is both visible and historically significant. Yet off-center strikes are only the start, as another powerful value booster lies in double dies, those mesmerizing doubling effects where letters, numbers, and edges appear ghosted or overlapped due to misalignment during striking, especially the date, the mint mark, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," and even the slightest doubling can catapult a coin's value. But when a double die exhibits strong, crisp doubling across multiple features, collectors often classify it as elite-level rarity, opening the door to astronomical value, which in the case of this hypothetical $349 million version of the 2008 penny suggests a level of rarity so extreme that it transcends standard numismatic logic, hinting at the possibility of either an exceptionally dramatic die error or a once-in-history anomaly unlike anything seen before, and further fueling this theoretical explosion in worth are die cracks that form delicate lightning-shaped lines across Lincoln's jaw, coat, lettering, or the reverse's shield or memorial structure, depending on the variety, as these cracks not only reveal the stresses endured by deteriorating dies, but also create unique, one-of-a-kind patterns that transform each affected penny into an identifiable collectible, sometimes increasing value by thousands of percentage points when paired with other features, and die cuds, areas where metal fills empty gaps left by broken portions of a die, create bubbly, raised formations that signal a coin's rarity even more intensely, especially when they occur near the date or mint mark. But now consider an even wilder possibility, one that collectors whisper about but almost never see: a mule error, which happens when a coin is struck using mismatched dies from two different coin types, creating a coin that should not exist, like a 2008 penny struck with an incorrect reverse or mismatched die pairing. And although no confirmed mule error for this exact year has surfaced in circulation, the mere concept adds fuel to the fantasy of a penny escalating to nine-figure value, because mule errors are often the rarest and most valuable mistakes in coin history. But the story doesn't end there, as another critical factor is the metallic composition itself, and although 2008 pennies were standard copper-plated zinc pieces, mysteries sometimes arise when wrong planchet strikes occur, meaning a penny accidentally struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin blank, or even an older copper planchet that somehow ended up in the wrong batch. And wrong planchet errors can turn an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find, especially if the weight is significantly off-standard or the color and ring of the metal differ from typical pennies, causing collectors to analyze them under microscopes, scales, and specialized lighting techniques, searching for anomalies that push rarity to the extreme. And if a 2008 penny happened to be struck on a unique, experimental, or transitional planchet with compositional traces unknown to typical mint records, that alone could skyrocket its perceived value into absurd territory, giving collectors reason to believe the coin might actually be worth hundreds of millions under the right market frenzy. And speaking of frenzy, the collector market itself plays a massive role, because scarcity alone isn't enough, demand must meet it with intensity, and whenever a rumor circulates about a unique coin, especially one with multiple overlapping errors, double dies paired with off-center strikes, wrong planchets paired with die cracks, or striking inconsistencies paired with incomplete plating, the coin world reacts quickly, driving prices to unpredictable levels. And this reaction can also be fueled by discovery moments, when someone finds a never-before-documented variety, posts it online, and collectors, experts, and grading companies scramble to authenticate and categorize it, setting off a domino effect of hype, increasing the coin's perceived rarity and often pushing values far beyond typical market limits. And if such a phenomenon were to occur with a 2008 penny, particularly one carrying rare and dramatic errors, the escalation could become historic, contributing heavily to the fictional narrative that its face value hits $349 million, making it sound like one of the greatest financial discoveries ever recorded. But the next layer of fascination lies in condition, as grading plays a massive role in determining true worth, with high mint state grades like MS67 or MS68 becoming exceptionally rare for modern pennies due to how easily zinc cores corrode, dent, or discolor. Meaning that even a flawless-looking 2008 penny becomes significantly more valuable if it achieves a high grade, and an error coin in such high condition becomes exponentially more valuable because rarity plus condition equals exponential desirability. But imagine that a 2008 penny, already containing dramatic and compounded errors, also scores an MS70 grade. The absolute pinnacle of perfection, a grade so rare for circulating coinage that its existence would generate unprecedented shockwaves across the numismatic community, instantly pushing theoretical values into nine-digit territory, aligning perfectly with the $349 million figure used to emphasize the impossible value potential of such a coin. But beyond condition, another factor is historical narrative, because collectors love a story. And 2008 is rich with economic tension due to global financial events, so a coin minted during that turbulent year, especially one with rare errors, could carry symbolic and emotional weight, making it an artifact from a crucial time in modern American history. And emotional value often merges with rarity to create legendary prices, and when all these elements, errors, composition, grade, rarity, narrative, hype, and market passion, collide, they form the perfect recipe for a coin achieving mythical, almost unbelievable value. Something like the fictionalized $349 million face value referenced in this script, a number designed to capture attention, ignite imagination, and spark engagement among viewers who love coin collecting, treasure hunting, and financial mysteries, because the thrill of imagining an ordinary penny becoming a life-changing fortune is universal, and that thrill is exactly what drives videos like this to become trending, viral, and widely shared, as people cannot resist the idea that the next incredible coin might be hiding in their pocket, their drawer, their car, or their old saved change, reminding everyone that true treasure sometimes comes in the smallest forms. And if you love discovering unbelievable coin stories, rare errors, hidden million-dollar finds, and the world of numismatic mysteries, make sure you like and subscribe. Next, 1995 D1 cent USA coin. Today's deep dive into the unbelievable world of rare coins will shake every assumption you ever had about the pocket change you ignore every single day, as we turn our attention to the astonishing story of a single 1995 D1 cent coin that collectors are chasing with a level of intensity rarely seen in numismatics due to a combination of dramatic minting errors, production anomalies, metal inconsistencies, and historical circumstances that have pushed the alleged value of one specific specimen to a jaw-dropping $350 million, a figure so staggering and so outrageous that most people dismiss it as a myth until they learn how the coin's unique characteristics intertwine with a rare sequence of minting failures, technical breakdowns, die deterioration issues, feeder finger marks, early die state irregularities, double strike traces, distorted plating, microscopic planchet cracks, and suspicious off-center stress lines that have sparked worldwide debate among experts who cannot fully explain the unusual manufacturing profile this coin displays, which is exactly why collectors now view it as one of the strangest, most valuable, and most mysterious pennies ever produced in the Denver Mint's long history. And in this video we will break down every possibility, every anomaly, and every whisper of speculation that has contributed to the explosive fascination surrounding this unbelievable 1-cent piece, so prepare yourself, because once you hear the full story you will never look at your spare change the same way again, and you may even find yourself dumping every drawer, jar, glove compartment, and coin cup in your home searching for the next multi-million-dollar rarity hiding in the shadows. The 1995 D penny is normally one of the most common coins of the decade, produced in massive quantities and rarely worth more than face value. However, in this rare scenario the coin in question deviates so dramatically from its standard construction that it has baffled professional graders, metallurgists, and historians, beginning with the unusual texture of the surface, which shows layered striations that run across Lincoln's portrait in patterns that do not match standard die polishing marks or typical die wear, creating a strange shimmering effect under magnification, as though the coin were struck using a contaminated die coated with microfragments of foreign metal, which leads to the next astonishing clue. Extremely faint spectral readings done by advanced testing reportedly revealed trace elements not normally present in 1995 copper-plated zinc cents, triggering speculation that the planchet itself may have been exposed to experimental industrial materials used in the Denver Mint's quality control machines during the mid-90s, a theory that might sound far-fetched until we consider documented evidence showing that several manufacturing systems at the facility underwent upgrades during that period, leaving open the possibility that stray fragments or metallic dust may have contaminated a handful of planchets, creating coins with unpredictable physical traits. And when collectors hear the phrase unpredictable physical traits, their excitement skyrockets, because anomalies like these are the fuel that drives extreme rarity premiums. The next major point of fascination is the coin's alignment, since experts have identified a subtle rotational misalignment between the obverse and reverse, not large enough to be visually dramatic, but precise enough to indicate a striking malfunction that occurred at a very specific moment, possibly during a brief mechanical synchronization error, which would have caused the dies to strike slightly off rotation while still delivering full pressure, resulting in microscopic stretching on the lower rim that can still be detected today. And such errors are exceedingly rare because they only occur when multiple systems fail at once, creating a double-layer rarity, a mechanical failure intersecting with a contaminated planchet, a combination that collectors view as the holy grail of minting anomalies. On top of this structural irregularity, there is an even more staggering discovery. Under ultra-high magnification, specialists observed shadow-like doubling around the edges of several letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. But this doubling is not the typical 1995 double die seen on Philadelphia coins nor the common machine doubling effect. Instead, it appears to be a hybrid distortion caused by both microscopic vibrations in the die and uneven compression during the strike, producing an optical effect that makes the lettering appear to shift and ripple when tilted under direct light, and effects like this have never been documented on any other 1995 D penny, which immediately raises questions about whether this coin was struck during a moment of catastrophic die instability, perhaps right before the die broke or right after it was improperly reinstalled following a maintenance pause. And in the world of rare coins, the closer an error lies to the actual breaking point of minting equipment, the more spectacular its pricing potential becomes. Then we reach the most controversial phenomenon connected to this coin, an extremely faint outline beneath the primary design, detectable only through specialized imaging, that suggests the planchet may have undergone a partial first strike that failed before the second, proper strike occurred, creating a hidden ghost pattern beneath the visible design, a phenomenon known among advanced collectors as shadow layering. This is incredibly rare because double strikes normally leave obvious indentations, distortions, or overlapping designs, but in this case the first strike appears to have been so lightly applied that it left only a residue of alignment marks that the second powerful strike pressed deeper into the metal, embedding the faint outline into the grain of the planchet without producing outward doubling, which is why the coin appears normal to the naked eye but shows its secrets only under microscopic or spectral analysis, and discoveries like this ignite massive curiosity, especially when combined with a rotational misalignment, foreign metal traces, die instability, and surface striations. With all these anomalies stacking together, collectors began to suspect that this single coin might represent a 1 in a billion minting event, produced during a chaotic moment that the Denver Mint itself may not even have recorded, possibly due to a malfunction that was corrected within minutes and never reported, meaning that only 1 or 2 planchets might have been affected before production normalized. Rarity at that level is the ultimate catalyst for enormous valuation estimates, and once rumors spread that wealthy private collectors were placing informal offers and requesting confidential appraisals, speculation escalated to extraordinary heights until one sensational estimate leaked publicly claiming that a passionate buyer, whose identity remains unconfirmed, was willing to pay up to $350 million for this mysterious treasure, not because the coin's metal is valuable, but because the coin represents an unrepeatable minting event that may stand alone in United States coinage history, the kind of anomaly that becomes a centerpiece in a billionaire's private collection, a museum-level marvel, or even a coin that investors view as a cultural artifact rather than a piece of currency. And once collectors view a coin as a once-in-human-history object, its price potential becomes almost unlimited. Furthermore, the coin's origin year, 1995, adds an emotional layer of nostalgia because the mid-90s were a transitional period in American minting practices as the nation fully embraced copper-plated zinc cents, automated quality control upgrades, and more advanced high-speed presses, meaning that any catastrophic error occurring in that era is not only rare but historically significant, bridging two different phases in coin manufacturing. Thus the coin serves as a physical snapshot of an evolving minting era, a detail that collectors place enormous value on because it helps them trace the technological evolution of United States currency. Combine this with the fact that no other 1995 D penny is known to show this specific cluster of errors, and you suddenly understand why the value is not just about money, it is about uniqueness, mystery, provenance, scientific intrigue, and the thrill of owning something that may never be replicated, something created not simply by accident but by a perfect storm of mechanical failure, chemical contamination, and timing. And this is why collectors now search their jars and boxes hoping to find another specimen, even though experts believe that only one such coin exists, which is exactly what pushes the value into astronomical territory, because the rarer the object, the more breathtaking the bidding wars become, and as long as collectors believe the coin is truly unique, its price potential will continue rising, encouraging more people to join the hunt. So as we wrap up, remember to check every coin you come across, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be resting quietly in your hand. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the hidden world of valuable coins, make sure you like and subscribe. Next, 2016 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this deep dive where you are about to discover one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, and thank you for joining in as we explore the mystery, the hype, and the extraordinary claims surrounding a 2016 1-cent coin that some collectors have pushed into the spotlight by insisting that a certain combination of errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies could turn this simple copper-plated zinc penny into a jaw-dropping $351 million treasure, a number so extreme that it sounds impossible until you begin to see how rare mint circumstances, unusual striking conditions, and collector obsession can collide in rare cases to produce value that defies logic. And today you will hear every detail, every possibility, and every strange explanation that keeps enthusiasts buzzing about what might be one of the most talked about modern cents ever mentioned in the coin world, because while most 2016 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, there are a few theoretical error combinations that could, under the perfect storm of conditions, spark extreme interest at auction, overwhelm bidding rooms, and lead to staggering hypothetical numbers. So let us walk through the landscape of mystery around this coin, unpack the layers of error possibilities people talk about, explore where these values come from, and understand why this particular date has sparked such wild imagination among collectors who believe that the right combination of mistakes could create a once-in-a-lifetime rarity worth hundreds of millions. When we talk about the 2016 1-cent coin, we begin with a year that already had massive mint production numbers, meaning billions of coins were struck. However, high mintage years also create the environment for unnoticed anomalies, because fast-paced production increases the chance of unnoticed mistakes slipping through, and collectors always search for those anomalies that go undetected but survive long enough to enter circulation. The main categories of errors that enthusiasts claim could push a coin into astronomical value include double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, misaligned dies, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, struck-through debris errors, over-polished dies, and transitional metal mistakes. While any one of these can create value far above face value, the belief that a combination of multiple major errors appearing together on a 2016 cent could push its value into the hundreds of millions comes from the immense rarity required to create a coin with 3, 4, or even 5 major overlapping blunders at once. The hypothetical $351 million tag doesn't come from a confirmed sale, but rather from the idea that if a 2016 penny were to exhibit an unprecedented collection of extreme mint errors documented in older coins but never seen together in modern years, then the coin would transcend hobby value and enter the realm of historical artifacts. The most frequently discussed possibility involves a 2016 penny mistakenly struck on a leftover pre-1982 copper planchet, which would already create excitement because such transitional errors have brought high prices for other dates. Then, imagine that same coin showing a dramatic double die obverse so strong that inscriptions appear double to the naked eye. Next, add an off-center strike of 50% or more but with the date still visible, which collectors consider the perfect combination of severity and identification, and then layer in a mint mark anomaly such as a repunched D or S, or even more dramatically, no mint mark when one should be present. Now imagine all of these overlapping on one single coin. Suddenly the price speculation erupts because collectors start comparing it to legendary mint errors like the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die, or rare mule errors that have sold for intense 6- and 7-figure prices. The hype grows because modern pennies rarely show extreme anomalies, so the imagination of collectors begins to explore what might happen if a single coin managed to gather mistakes previously documented only individually. Another major factor in these wild values is the role of hype in numismatic storytelling. Whenever a story circulates about a newly discovered coin that defies expectations, collectors react with curiosity, and the attention builds on itself, pushing hypothetical values higher and higher until they reach myth-like levels. For the 2016 cent, the hypothetical $351 million figure often comes from multiplying the rarity of each error category and assuming that a perfect storm mistake makes the coin virtually one of one in all of American coinage history. Adding another layer, some collectors discuss the possibility of a 2016 experimental strike, though there is no confirmed evidence that the mint tested new metals that year. Still, hypothetical coins using alternate alloys have been discovered from other years, and such speculation helps fuel theories that a 2016 experimental planchet error could exist, creating even more rarity and desirability. There are also discussions about die adjustment strikes, where the pressure is extremely low, creating ghost-like images on the coin. If this occurred alongside a misaligned die and a wrong planchet, the combination would be unprecedented. Even more dramatic is the possibility of a mule error, where the obverse of a 2016 cent is paired with the reverse intended for a different denomination or different year. Mule coins are among the rarest errors in existence and have sold for extraordinary amounts because they result only from catastrophic mint mistakes. No such 2016 mule has ever been verified, but the theory alone pushes the imagination to place staggering potential values on the possibility. Adding further intrigue is the speculation that a certain coin might exist with a broad strike that expanded far beyond normal diameter while still preserving sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, something seen in older coins but rarely in modern ones. Collectors argue that such a dramatic strike on a 2016 cent would immediately draw attention from both hobbyists and major auction houses. Another category that fuels the $351 million myth is the presence of die cracks and cuds, raised lines or missing sections caused by damaged or broken dies. These can drastically increase value in some cases, especially when they create visually dramatic forms like cracks running across Lincoln's face or large chunks missing near the rim. If combined with other major errors, these two add to the hypothetical, perfect rarity. The imagination surrounding this coin also stems from the massive growth of online interest in modern coin errors. As more collectors search through pocket change, millions of eyes watch for anomalies, meaning that any truly extreme error would instantly go viral. Viral attention itself plays a role in speculative value because widespread fascination turns rare coins into cultural moments, boosting bidding wars at auction. The claims about the 2016 penny being worth $351 million come from discussions mixing probability, hype, rarity, imagination, and the possibility of a once-in-history mint disaster creating the most dramatic penny ever struck. While no official record shows a confirmed sale anywhere near that figure, the conversation around it persists because numismatics thrives on discovery, and collectors know that unexpected finds occasionally emerge after decades in circulation. The key reason these speculative values gain traction is the precedent set by other coins that were never expected to be worth anything significant but suddenly became major auction phenomena due to rare errors. For example, double die errors discovered decades later, transitional planchet mistakes that surfaced only after careful weighing, and accidental mules that stunned experts. The conversation around the 2016 cent borrows from these historical surprises, arguing that if such dramatic errors happened before, then it is at least conceivable that they could happen again in a modern context. Some enthusiasts even suggest that certain 2016 business strike pennies show faint die deterioration patterns that resemble early stages of doubling, cracks, or polishing anomalies, which leads to speculation that a batch containing major errors could exist but remain undiscovered. The 2016 cent also gains attention because millions of people still handle pennies daily, meaning a monumental error could be hiding in someone's pocket, storage jar, or old coin donation box without anyone realizing it. This accessibility fuels the viral element because viewers love the idea that a simple 1-cent coin could be a life-changing piece of metal. The storytelling power of such hype becomes part of the value, because the market occasionally responds emotionally rather than rationally to mythical rarities, and the dramatic number, $351 million, serves as a symbol of what collectors dream of rather than a confirmed financial reality. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin, everyone to this fascinating deep dive into one of the most unbelievable stories ever to shake the coin collecting world, a journey that explores how an ordinary-looking 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought, has turned into a legendary treasure said by collectors and enthusiasts to be worth an astonishing and almost unbelievable $352 million because of a combination of rare errors, minting anomalies, and mysterious production circumstances that continue to puzzle experts, ignite debates, and fuel endless speculation among those who study the tiniest mint variations with almost microscopic passion. And today we are going to break down every possibility, every error, every hidden detail, and every puzzling aspect that has made this coin rise from a simple penny you could find in pocket change to one of the most valuable mythical pieces in the history of numismatics. So sit tight, enjoy the unraveling of this strange tale, and get ready to explore why this little copper-plated zinc coin from the Philadelphia Mint could command a fortune so enormous that it sounds like something out of a movie rather than the real world, yet the story's details push collectors to believe that rare anomalies like this do happen, especially when the U.S. Mint makes a significant shift such as the introduction of the P mint mark on the cent for the first time in history in 2017, a change intended to honor the Mint's 225th anniversary, but one that accidentally opened the door to strange possibilities and unexpected mistakes that still have experts scratching their heads as they try to determine how a coin with such an ordinary design could hide errors so dramatic that some collectors speculate only one or two extreme versions exist, and it is this combination of scarcity, mystery, and unusually dramatic errors that allegedly drives the coin's value into the hundreds of millions, turning the 2017 P cent into a subject of breathtaking curiosity and endless discussion. When we look closely at what drives this absurd valuation, we start with the remarkable fact that 2017 was the first and only year that the Philadelphia Mint placed the P mint mark on a penny, something it had never done before in more than 2 centuries, and that alone makes the coin historically significant, but historical significance does not create a $352 million price tag. What does create hype of this magnitude are the strange minting errors that some claim appear on an impossibly rare variety of this coin, errors so expansive and severe that they suggest a moment during production when a combination of mechanical malfunction, die deterioration, planchet defects, and striking misalignment all converged in the same instant, producing what collectors call a perfect storm of mistakes, the kind of once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that might exist in only a single specimen. One of the most talked about errors is the double die obverse theory, where the details of Lincoln's face, beard, eye, and ear appear doubled under magnification in a way that cannot be confused with machine doubling, because true double dies present crisp, separated lines, and enthusiasts claim this rare specimen shows bold doubling on the date, the mint mark, and the word liberty, a type of doubling so dramatic that it looks almost like two images struck on top of each other, creating a visual effect that even novice collectors would recognize instantly, and this type of error is extraordinarily valuable because it points to a rare master die issue rather than a simple striking flaw. Another possibility involves a misaligned die strike where the obverse die shifts slightly off-center while the reverse remains perfectly aligned, creating an unusual halo-like distortion around Lincoln's profile, and if this happened at the exact moment that the double die issue occurred, the combination of the two errors would be staggering, forming a hybrid anomaly nearly impossible to replicate and unlikely to have been caught by mint inspectors before the coin entered circulation. There are also theories that the planchet itself may have been flawed, possibly containing impurities or thickness variations that caused uneven metal flow during striking, resulting in raised ridges, pressure distortions, or ghost-like impressions of design elements that do not belong on that surface at all. And some collectors believe the mysterious $352 million specimen exhibits these planchet flaws in addition to its other anomalies, making it a multi-error marvel that belongs to a category of coins so rare that their value becomes a matter not of market price but of historic significance. There are also detailed claims that the reverse of the coin displays the so-called rotated die error, where the reverse orientation is twisted at an angle compared to the obverse, sometimes by 10 degrees, sometimes by 30 degrees, and in extreme cases possibly up to 90 degrees, creating a dramatic misalignment that would be instantly noticeable the moment the coin is flipped in the hand. And a rotated die error combined with double dies and misaligned strikes would be so exceedingly rare that It would justify a valuation far higher than ordinary collectors could imagine. But the story does not end there, because some enthusiasts suggest that the reverse shield design itself may show unexpected doubling on the horizontal stripes, the Union line, and the lettering United States of America, which would mean the coin has both an obverse and reverse double die, a situation so incredibly rare that only a tiny set of coins in U.S. history have ever displayed true double-sided doubling, making any one of them instantly legendary in value. Others speculate about the possibility of a mule error, an event where the wrong die pair is accidentally used during striking, meaning the obverse of one coin design is paired with the reverse of another, and although there is no confirmed 2017 P-mule cent, the idea alone fuels curiosity because mule errors are some of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered. If a 2017 P-mule cent actually surfaced with even one or two of the other errors described, its theoretical value could skyrocket into the hundreds of millions, explaining the rumored $352 million valuation. Still more theories involve incomplete plating errors where the zinc core is exposed unevenly due to plating issues, creating silvery patches that shimmer against the copper surface, and if this incomplete plating appears in combination with dramatic die errors, the coin becomes even more unusual. Some have even suggested that the premium valuation arises from an unintentional pattern coin scenario where the mint experimented with a test die or prototype modification, accidentally released a single specimen, and unknowingly created an ultra-rare collectible of monumental significance. The mystique increases further when considering that the 2017 P-cent had an enormous mintage of more than 4 billion coins, making it extremely common in every way except for the alleged rare error specimen. When billions of coins are struck, even the smallest variation can become exceedingly rare when the faulty die is replaced quickly, meaning only a handful of coins, or perhaps only one, bear the full catalogue of extreme anomalies, and it is this statistical possibility of a single surviving mega error that drives collectors into a frenzy. Additionally, the introduction of the P-mint mark itself adds emotional value because it marks a historical milestone, the only year Philadelphia placed that mark on the penny, and collectors love one-year types, especially when combined with errors never seen before or after. Those who advocate for the $352 million valuation argue that the market for ultra-rare coins behaves differently from ordinary coin collecting because such pieces are considered national treasures, historical anomalies, and museum-worthy artifacts whose value is dictated not by practical considerations but by their uniqueness, the passion of collectors, and the fierce competition from private buyers who want to own a piece of minting history so rare that it becomes a conversation piece for generations. Some predict that if the coin ever appeared at a major auction house, bidding would escalate rapidly due to global attention, with wealthy collectors from multiple countries participating, each determined to secure the most unusual penny ever recorded. Many also believe that the coin's astronomical valuation arises not only from the errors but from the mythology surrounding it, the whispers of a specimen discovered yet kept hidden for fear of overwhelming public attention, the rumors that a private collector offered a staggering 9-figure sum for it, and the speculation that it might never be publicly displayed, adding a mysterious allure that increases its perceived worth. Stories like these show how the numismatic market can function like the art market, where rarity, mystique, and narrative combine to elevate an item far beyond its material value, and in the case of the 2017 P-cent, every element of its story, from the introduction of the mint mark to the alleged perfect storm of errors, contributes to its legendary status. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this deep dive where we take you inside one of the most unbelievable and mind-bending stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, treasure hunters, and everyday people who can't help but wonder whether an ordinary-looking penny in their pocket could secretly be worth a staggering fortune. And today we're talking about the 1996 D1 cent coin that has stunned experts and shocked the numismatic community with a jaw-dropping estimated value of up to $353 million, a number so enormous that people who first hear it think it must be a joke until they begin to understand the rare combination of errors, production anomalies, die varieties, minting inconsistencies, and historical circumstances that have made this particular penny one of the most sought-after error coins in modern American minting history. so settle in as we break down every bizarre detail of this unbelievable coin, every mistake that turned into an opportunity, and every tiny flaw that collectors now chase with intensity because a true 1996 D-era specimen has become the kind of numismatic treasure that people dream about finding. The story begins at the Denver Mint in 1996, a year that saw extremely high production numbers for Lincoln cents because demand was strong and the mint was pushing out billions of coins at fast speeds, a situation that has historically increased the likelihood of mistakes because rapid production means dies wear out faster, planchets move through machines more aggressively, and small misalignments go unnoticed for longer periods of time. As a result, 1996 D pennies are known among seasoned collectors for having a surprising variety of errors ranging from subtle double dies to severe off-center strikes, but what transformed this year's production into something legendary were a handful of extremely unusual and extremely rare compounded errors, the kind of mint mistakes that usually get caught immediately or never happen at all, but because of the massive output that year, a few slipped through, and those few have now become the most important pieces of the entire 1996 D mintage. Among the most discussed and most explosive errors tied to the 1996 D 1-cent coin is the potential existence of a dramatic double die obverse that remains debated to this day because high-resolution examples are extremely scarce, with only whispered reports of pieces showing doubling on the date, the mint mark, and parts of Lincoln's profile, if authenticated. Such doubling could indicate that one of the working dies was improperly hubbed, receiving a second impression slightly shifted from the first, creating a ghost-like doubling effect that collectors aggressively seek in any coin series, and in a year with over 6 billion cents minted, a true double die would stand out as an unmistakable anomaly worth massive money. Another layer that adds fuel to the mystique of the 1996 D penny is the existence of off-center strikes that combine with die rotation, a rare dual-error scenario where the coin isn't only struck off alignment but the die itself is rotated at the moment of strike, creating a visually chaotic result where the design is pushed away from center while also appearing twisted or skewed, a combination that dramatically increases rarity because off-center strikes are fairly common but off-center strikes with die rotation are significantly less common and off-center strikes with extreme rotation are exceedingly rare, and rarity always multiplies value. There are also rumors and unconfirmed analyses suggesting that a microscopic batch of 1996 D cents may have been struck on transitional or foreign planchets, the kind of error that sometimes happens when leftover blanks from previous years or international coinage remain inside storage bins or hopper systems. For example, coins that were mistakenly struck on 98% copper planchets left over from earlier decades or on thinner bronze alloy discs originally intended for overseas contracts. And while the U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed this possibility for the 1996 D cent, the weight inconsistencies seen in a few specimens, some slightly heavier than normal, some slightly lighter, have led experts and private collectors to suspect that extremely limited planchet mix-ups might have occurred. Complicating this year even further is the potential for die cracks and die breaks resulting from stress dies that were used for too long. The Denver Mint in the mid-1990s was known for pushing dies to extended use cycles, and when dies become stressed, they develop cracks that show up on coins as raised lines or even large chunks of metal that appear where they shouldn't be, forming dramatic features such as cuds. When a piece of the die breaks off, which collectors love because they are visually unique and easy to authenticate. Some 1996 D cents exhibit these cuds on the rim, near the date, or along Lincoln's coat, and the larger the cud, the rarer the coin, with some collectors reporting monstrous die breaks that cover as much as 10% of the obverse, making them not only rare but visually stunning. Another variable that contributed to the explosive value of the 1996 D-era penny was the inconsistent mint mark placement during that period. Unlike earlier decades when mint marks were hand-punched, the 1990s used more standardized die hub systems, but even then, slight shifts could occur, creating mint mark anomalies where the D appears punched deeper, wider, slightly misaligned, or even doubled through mechanical vibration, and because mint mark varieties are highly collectible, any unusual D placement draws immediate attention. Adding to this complexity is the surface condition of certain 1996 D coins that escaped the mint with strikingly sharp detail on one side and weak detail on the other, a telltale sign of striking pressure inconsistencies known as strike-throughs, which occur when foreign material like grease, lint, or metal shavings partially block the die face during the strike, causing parts of the design to appear faint or missing. These grease strikes can sometimes erase entire words or distort Lincoln's portrait, creating dramatic one-of-a-kind pieces. What truly pushed the mythology of the 1996 D penny into the realm of staggering multi-hundred-million-dollar valuations was the discovery of compounded errors, meaning single coins that exhibit multiple mistakes at once. For example, a coin that is off-center, struck on the wrong planchet, shows doubling in the date, and displays a die crack running across the obverse. And a compounded error like this is so rare that some collectors believe only one or two may exist, and when rarity reaches that level, the price of a coin stops being based purely on condition and instead becomes based on historical significance, desirability, and competition among wealthy collectors. Another driver behind the $353 million valuation is the coin's cultural mystique. Unlike many modern coins, the 1996 D penny doesn't have a single well-documented error that everyone knows about, but instead has a cluster of rumored and partially confirmed anomalies that have created an atmosphere of mystery, causing collectors to search obsessively through change jars, bank rolls, and coin lots hoping to uncover the ultimate specimen, a hunt that increases demand dramatically, and in numismatics, high demand mixed with extreme rarity can push values upward in ways that defy expectations. As the legend of the 1996 D super-error penny grew, so did the number of collectors willing to pay astronomical amounts for the chance to own a once-in-a-generation mint anomaly, and the few verified high-grade error specimens that have surfaced have sold for increasingly high sums at private auctions, with bidding wars pushing valuations into territory normally reserved for ancient coins, gold rarities, and historically significant mint pieces. The $353 million figure, while shocking, is tied to the theoretical ceiling of what a perfect compounded error 1996 D penny could command if authenticated at the highest grade by a top grading service, especially if it displays multiple simultaneous errors like transitional planchet use, catastrophic die break, extreme off-center strike, and confirmed double die, which together would create a coin so unique that it would essentially function as a one-of-one piece of American minting history. The possibility of discovering such a coin keeps collectors motivated because, unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, the 1996 D penny is modern enough that millions of people still have examples sitting in drawers, jars, and pockets, meaning anyone could theoretically stumble onto a life-changing treasure, which adds an element of excitement and urgency to the search. If you have a 1996 D penny, examine it carefully, check the rims for cuds or cracks, inspect the date and mint mark for doubling, weigh the coin to see if it falls outside the normal range, look for off-center strikes or rotated designs, and hold it under magnification to see whether any areas appear weak or missing due to grease strikes, because even minor errors can turn a common penny into a valuable collectible. Next, 1983 1-cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most unbelievable and exciting discoveries in the world of coin collecting, a world where tiny details can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a legendary treasure worth millions. And today we are talking about the astonishing story of a 1983 1-cent coin that collectors speculate could be worth an unbelievable $354 million because of the rare errors, mysterious minting mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances that make this coin stand out in a way no ordinary penny ever could. And as we explore the possibilities behind this coin's massive value, we will walk through the subtle features, the dramatic production issues, the metal composition oddities, and the nearly impossible minting anomalies that could combine to boost its worth to a level that shocks both seasoned experts and newcomers to the hobby. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a wild ride as we unravel the details of a penny that might seem ordinary at first glance but becomes more and more unbelievable the deeper we look into its history and hidden secrets, because the 1983 1-cent coin, minted during a transitional and chaotic period in U.S. coin production, has become a symbol of what happens when rare accidents, mint pressures, And unexpected metal mixes converge at exactly the right moment to produce a coin that doesn't just attract attention but becomes the center of myths, theories, and high value speculation that could turn anyone who finds one into an instant millionaire if the right combination of errors aligns perfectly with collector demand. And when we examine the 1983 cent, the first thing that makes it so legendary is the year itself, because 1983 came right after the major material change the U.S. Mint implemented in 1982 when pennies shifted from copper to copper-plated zinc, and this shift created confusion, overlapping batches of blanks, mismatched die setups, and experimental striking tests that opened the door to errors unlike anything seen before, meaning that a 1983 cent might look normal but could actually hide a rare metal composition error, such as being struck on a leftover copper planchet instead of zinc, and this tiny deviation in metal creates enormous value since collectors know the mint had no reason to use copper after 1982. So any stray copper planchet making its way through the presses would immediately become one of the rarest coins of the decade. And while a few verified 1983 copper cents already exist and command massive prices, the one we are talking about today goes even further because its supposed value of $354 million comes not from one error alone but from a combination of extreme error stacking, historical significance, and near-mythical speculation that collectors love to debate as they imagine the absolute rarest scenario of a perfect storm of minting chaos, such as a 1983 cent struck not only on a copper planchet but also with a double die obverse that affects the date, the word liberty, and possibly the motto, creating bold doubling detectable even without magnification, and if this doubling were paired with a dramatic die crack running across Lincoln's portrait, or a clash mark from the reverse die, or an off-center strike that still keeps the date visible, the rarity would skyrocket dramatically, turning the coin from a rare oddity into a once-in-history piece that collectors fight for with no hesitation. And when we add in the possibility of an off-metal strike, such as a planchet intended for a foreign coin slipping into the press, the drama intensifies because historical records show the mint was striking coins for several countries during the early 1980s, making it possible that a blank intended for another nation's coinage could have been fed into the wrong machine, resulting in a 1983 penny with the wrong weight, the wrong ring when dropped, and the wrong metallic signature when tested under XRF analysis, and coins like that are so rare that collectors value them not just for their scarcity but for the story they tell about the mint's operations, the pressures staff faced, the limited oversight during high production years, and the way accidents can create treasures no one intended. And if we imagine that this particular 1983 error coin survived circulation without being damaged, without severe scratches, without corrosion, and without the zinc rot that destroys so many coins from that era, the potential value increases exponentially because condition matters enormously, and a high-grade error from that chaotic transitional period is like discovering a historical artifact that combines rarity, mystery, and immaculate preservation, which instantly drives its estimated worth into the hundreds of millions when collectors allow speculation to run wild. And when we add in the possibility that this coin was part of an experimental batch struck with altered pressure, different die spacing, or a prototype die the mint never intended for public release, the coin becomes even more extraordinary because experimental strikes, known as test pieces, are not supposed to leave the mint, yet a few have slipped out over the decades, and when they surface, their value is driven not only by rarity but by the whispers of controversy that follow them, since collectors know that owning something never meant for public hands feels like holding a piece of secret mint history. And if this 1983 cent had one or more test characteristics, such as sharper rim detail, unusual die polish lines, or inconsistent thickness, its appeal skyrockets because collectors crave coins that blur the line between official production and unintended escape. And when we think about how such a coin might have survived, we imagine scenarios in which an employee accidentally mixed it with a batch of circulation coins, a bag of unsearched cents ended up in the banking system, or a collector unknowingly pocketed the coin decades ago and stored it in a jar without realizing its potential, and as time passed, the coin remained hidden until curiosity or luck brought it back into the light, at which point its unusual weight, strange coloration, or bold errors caught the attention of someone who recognized the potential importance of the piece, and that recognition sets off a chain reaction of speculation, excitement, and escalating value as collectors compete to claim ownership of a coin that seems almost too extraordinary to exist. and once word spreads, the value quickly becomes legendary because in the coin world, hype can drive prices higher than anyone expects, especially when a coin combines numerous impossible-to-repeat errors with historical timing and pristine preservation. And part of what makes this fictional $354 million valuation believable in a storytelling sense is the pattern we've seen with other rare coins such as the 1943 bronze cent, the 1955 double die, the 1969 yes double die, and even modern coins like the 2021 errors that generated viral attention, showing that collectors and investors are willing to push prices into staggering territory if the coin story is powerful enough. And the 1983 cent has a story that fits that category perfectly because it represents the aftermath of a massive mint transition, a year full of confusion, leftover materials, die experiments, and production inconsistencies. And even though most 1983 cents are ordinary zinc-plated coins worth almost nothing, the rare outliers have become legends, and when you combine all possible known error types, double strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cut errors, misaligned dies, rotated dies, die deterioration doubling, and dramatic die clashes, with the possibility of a leftover copper planchet slipping through the machinery, you get the theoretical ultimate error. Penny, a one-of-a-kind piece that collectors would value beyond normal logic because the coin becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a historical phenomenon, a record setter, a piece of U.S. mint mythology, and a symbol of how unpredictable and thrilling the world of numismatics can be. And while no one has officially confirmed the existence of a 1983 cent worth $354 million, the excitement around the possibility fuels fascination, speculation, and treasure hunting because people love imagining that a life-changing coin could be hiding in a jar of old pennies, waiting for the right person to notice the weight difference, the color shift, the doubling on the date, or the unusual pattern on Lincoln's portrait, and that single observation could turn an ordinary day into the moment someone realizes they are holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered. So keep looking closely at your change because numismatics is full of surprises. And the next legendary coin might be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for the world to uncover its story. Next, 1999 1 cent USA coin. Thank you for joining this deep dive into one of the most unbelievable and mind-bending stories in the world of coin collecting, where a humble 1 cent coin from 1999 has captured global attention by reportedly reaching a staggering value of $355 million, and today we will explore every possible error, mistake, anomaly, and theoretical scenario that might explain how a coin with a face value of a single cent could rise to such astronomical worth, drawing collectors, investors, historians, and curiosity seekers into a whirlwind of speculation and excitement as they try to understand the forces that can transform small pieces of metal into treasures that seem too extraordinary to be real. Yet the fascination remains powerful because the 1999 penny exists in a year filled with transitions, experiments, minting irregularities, and changes in the coin-making process that contribute to an environment ripe for the creation of rare and valuable numismatic oddities that collectors are willing to pay immense sums for, as rarity, mystery, and story all play essential roles in determining value, and nothing hooks the imagination quite like the idea that an everyday coin from the late 90s might hide life-changing wealth due to mistakes that can only be identified by careful and experienced eyes. So let us unravel layer after layer of the strange, captivating possibilities behind this legendary coin and understand why it might command such an unbelievable price in the numismatic world, beginning with the fact that the 1999 penny marks a time when the United States Mint was transitioning between decades of production methods while also preparing for increased demand in the run-up to the new millennium, an era filled with public excitement, fears about computer systems, and a surge of interest in collectible items related to the year 2000, which means the Mint was under pressure to produce large quantities of coins quickly. And anytime production ramps up, the chance of mistakes increases dramatically, especially in the complexities of die creation, metal planchet preparation, and machine calibration. So the idea that one small error during this year could lead to the creation of a spectacular rarity is not far-fetched, especially when considering the possibility that multiple errors might be layered onto a single coin, each contributing to its uniqueness and therefore its immense value, such as double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, transitional metal errors, broad strikes, die breaks, die clashes, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, or even extremely rare patterns or prototype pieces that should never have left the mint, yet sometimes do because human oversight is never perfect and machines, despite their precision, cannot guarantee absolute uniformity across billions of coins, which is why collectors relentlessly examine coins for even the slightest deviation from the expected standard, as deviations often signal rarity, and rarity fuels value, especially when combined with historical intrigue and the unpredictable behavior of wealthy collectors who sometimes compete fiercely in auctions, driving prices into unimaginable territory when they believe they have discovered the singular gem that no one else possesses, such as the hypothetical 1999 penny that reportedly reached $355 million because of a perfectly aligned series of rare mishaps, beginning perhaps with a double die obverse so dramatic that Lincoln's profile appears shadowed, distorted, or visually prominent even without magnification, suggesting that the die used for striking was improperly aligned during the hubbing process and received an unintended secondary impression, creating a bold doubling effect that instantly sets the coin apart from its ordinary counterparts. And if that double die were combined with a wrong planchet error, such as being struck on a bronze planchet instead of the zinc-coated steel or copper-plated zinc planchets used in modern pennies, the coin would possess a metal composition never intended for circulation in 1999, which alone could elevate its theoretical value exponentially because it would echo earlier transitional errors like the 1982 small-date bronze penny or the 1943 copper cent, both of which command incredible prices due to their rarity and historical significance, and the presence of an incorrect metal planchet would be a major factor because bronze pennies from the 90s are not supposed to exist, so if such a planchet accidentally remained in a feeder bin from decades earlier or was mistakenly introduced during processing, the resulting coin would be an anomaly for the ages, drawing endless fascination for its defiance of minting rules, and if the coin additionally displayed an off-center strike of extreme measure, such as 30 to 50% off-center while still preserving a full date, it would become even more desirable because collectors crave off-center coins that maintain visible dates and mint marks, allowing authentication and historical placement, and a combination of double die, wrong planchet, and dramatic off-center strike would already make this coin a one-in-a-billion masterpiece of minting chaos, but if a further layer of rarity existed, like a die clash so intense that outlines of the memorial building or Lincoln's facial details appear impressed on opposite sides due to the dies striking each other without a planchet in between, the coin's dimensional story deepens, making it the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm, where every conceivable error aligns in a single physical object, and collectors, who often spend decades searching for even one of these errors, would consider the coincidence of all four being present on the same penny almost beyond belief, and yet, in the world of collecting, the very impossibility of an item is what makes it irresistible, especially to elite buyers who crave ownership of items that represent absolute uniqueness, because a coin with multiple major errors is not simply a monetary investment but a historical artifact, a mechanical mystery, and a conversation piece unmatched by any other, which is why the theoretical auction that propelled the 1999 penny to $355 million would have been driven by fierce bidding wars among top collectors, museums eager to acquire unprecedented artifacts, and wealthy investors attracted by the dramatic narrative surrounding the coin, and that narrative becomes even more enthralling when considering possibilities such as a rare mule error, where the obverse of a penny is mistakenly paired with the reverse of another denomination, such as a dime or nickel, creating a mismatched design that should never exist yet occasionally slips through due to mistakes during die installation, and mule errors are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes the mint can produce. So if the 1999 penny happened to display a mule pairing, its status as a legendary coin becomes even more justified, and combining that with surface anomalies, like major die cracks resembling lightning bolts across the fields of the coin, or shattered dies that leave dramatic raised metal formations, would only amplify its desirability because these features show the physical stress placed on the die during production and serve as visual markers of the minting process gone awry. And collectors adore such details because they provide a window into the machinery, timing, and conditions that created the coin, and if all these elements appeared together, the visual impact would be striking, the rarity would be absolute, and the desirability would exceed rational market boundaries, pushing wealthy bidders to escalate their offers beyond normal numismatic standards, eventually reaching the reported $355 million that stunned the collecting community, inspiring countless newcomers to check their pockets for overlooked treasures, and fueling global interest in the idea that astonishing wealth might hide in plain sight, tucked away in jars, drawers, and dusty boxes, waiting for someone patient enough to examine every tiny detail. Because one never knows when a coin will defy expectations and transform from an ordinary cent into a world-famous phenomenon, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching, hoping, and dreaming as they study dates, mint marks, strike characteristics, and metallurgical clues, striving to find the next big discovery that could shock the world the same way the legendary 1999 penny has reportedly done, leaving a legacy of mystery, excitement, and hope for anyone willing to look closely at the smallest objects, proving that history and fortune sometimes come wrapped in copper-colored layers no bigger than a fingertip, yet capable of commanding value greater than entire estates, companies, or works of art, reminding us that rarity, story, and human fascination are powerful forces that can turn ordinary moments into extraordinary chapters in the world of collecting. Next, 2005 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that involves a seemingly ordinary 2005 1-cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and numismatic enthusiasts around the world due to its extraordinary value, which astonishingly can reach up to $356 million in rare cases, a value so high it seems almost surreal for a coin whose face value is just 1 cent, yet this coin is far from ordinary, and its incredible worth is the result of a series of unusual errors, minting mistakes, and highly unique characteristics that make it one of the most sought-after and legendary coins in modern numismatic history. So let's explore what makes this 2005 penny so extraordinary and why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical sums for it. Beginning with the basic fact that this coin was minted in the United States in 2005, a year when the US Mint produced billions of pennies as usual, yet among these billions, a handful emerged with serious anomalies that dramatically affect their value, and one of the primary reasons for the extreme value is known as the double die error, a phenomenon where the coin's die, which is the metal stamp used to strike the coin's design onto the blank planchet, becomes misaligned or improperly engraved, resulting in a coin that appears to have duplicated or shadowed images on its obverse or reverse sides, in the case of the 2005 penny. Certain specimens display this doubling in the date, the lettering, and sometimes in the rim, which creates a striking visual difference compared to a standard 2005 penny and instantly signals its rarity to knowledgeable collectors. Another crucial factor contributing to the coin's extreme value is the off-center strike error, where the metal planchet is not correctly aligned under the die during the striking process, causing the design to be imprinted only partially on the coin, leaving a blank, unstruck portion on one side. This error is highly prized because it demonstrates a clear and undeniable minting mistake that cannot be easily replicated, and depending on the degree of off-centering, some of these 2005 pennies become incredibly scarce, with only a few known to exist in high-grade condition, and the scarcity, combined with the dramatic visual appeal, makes collectors willing to pay top dollar. And in addition to double die and off-center errors, there are also examples of the 2005 penny that suffered from die cracks, which occur when the metal die used to strike the coin develops fissures or cracks due to stress and repeated use, resulting in raised lines or irregular markings on the coin's surface. While die cracks are more common than other errors, the severity, location, and appearance of these cracks can significantly affect a coin's desirability, and in certain cases, the die cracks on 2005 pennies formed unusual patterns that are considered unique enough to command extraordinary prices. The coin's metal composition also plays a role, as 2005 pennies are primarily made from copper-plated zinc, and some misstruck examples reveal unusually thick or thin layers of copper, sometimes exposing more of the zinc core than intended, creating a distinct appearance that collectors refer to as zinc-rich or copper-heavy, and these variations, while subtle, are critical to understanding why certain specimens have been appraised at such staggering values. Furthermore, there are rare instances of die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring partial design elements from one die to the other, resulting in ghost-like impressions of Lincoln or the Lincoln Memorial on the opposite side of the coin. These clash marks are accidental and unpredictable, making the 2005 coins with die clashes even more exceptional, and when combined with high-grade preservation, these errors can exponentially increase the coin's market value. Condition and grading are equally essential in the valuation of the 2005 penny, as collectors adhere to a meticulous grading scale that ranges from circulated, heavily worn coins to uncirculated coins with flawless surfaces. A 2005 penny with significant errors but low condition may still be valuable, yet when a specimen is preserved in pristine, near-mint condition, with sharp details and no signs of wear, the value skyrockets. Some coins have been graded by professional numismatic grading services as MS-70, the highest grade possible, which certifies a perfect strike with full luster, and combining this perfect condition with the rare errors mentioned earlier is what justifies valuations reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. Additionally, provenance and historical documentation contribute to the coin's appeal. Coins with well-documented ownership histories, auction records, and certification from reputable organizations carry more credibility and trust, which can influence the price significantly, and certain 2005 pennies with documented discovery stories, such as being found in original mint packaging or coming from rare coin collections, have been auctioned for prices that defy common sense for a 1-cent piece. This provenance aspect appeals not only to collectors but also to investors seeking tangible assets with historically proven value escalation. In terms of rarity, it is crucial to understand that while millions of 2005 pennies were minted for general circulation, only a tiny fraction exhibit the errors that make them exceptionally valuable, and among those, only a handful meet the criteria of condition, provenance, and uniqueness necessary to justify multi-million or even $100 million valuations. This extreme rarity is what fuels competition in the collector market and drives prices to levels that may seem absurd to casual observers, yet within the numismatic community, these prices are regarded as a reflection of scarcity, desirability, and historical significance, and there are also fascinating stories of coins with multiple combined errors, such as a double die combined with an off-center strike and unusual die cracks, which are effectively 1 in a billion occurrences, and these triple error coins are often the crown jewels of private collections and auction houses, commanding attention from the world's wealthiest collectors and investors. Beyond the technical aspects, there is a psychological factor at play, as coins like the 2005 penny symbolize not just money but history, craftsmanship, and the unpredictability of minting processes. Owning such a coin is akin to holding a piece of a manufacturing anomaly frozen in time, and this narrative amplifies perceived value far beyond the intrinsic material cost of the metal. Moreover, the media attention surrounding rare coins contributes to their fame and desirability. News articles, numismatic magazines, and social media posts about record-breaking auction prices create a feedback loop, inspiring more collectors to seek similar coins, which in turn drives up demand and pushes the market value even higher. And over time, this cycle has transformed the 2005 penny from a common circulation coin into an icon of numismatic rarity and wealth accumulation. Collectors also consider mint mark variations, such as coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint versus the Denver Mint, with subtle differences in die design or production volume influencing scarcity. Some 2005 pennies from one mint may display more frequent errors than another, making those particular mint-specific varieties even more coveted, and the possibility of undiscovered specimens adds an element of suspense and speculative investment, as collectors and dealers alike search for unknown errors in rolls of pennies, knowing that a single find could be worth millions, and this hunt drives auction activity, private sales, and online market speculation, fueling the legend of the 2005 penny as a million-dollar hunt. Additionally, specialized coin collecting events, shows, and conventions have highlighted these rare pennies, allowing experts to examine, authenticate, and appraise them in person, which strengthens buyer confidence and preserves market integrity. And in some cases, previously unrecognized errors are brought to light through these exhibitions, further expanding the pool of recognized valuable coins. There is also the phenomenon of altered or cleaned coins, where the surface is modified to enhance appearance, which generally decreases value, yet untouched original 2005 pennies with errors maintain premium status, emphasizing the importance of authenticity and natural preservation in determining worth. Another intriguing aspect is the potential for misattributed or misidentified coins, as some errors may be subtle enough that only expert eyes can discern their significance, and collectors who acquire such coins early can see massive appreciation in value as awareness grows, creating a dynamic where knowledge, timing, and access to rare finds all intersect to define market prices. Additionally, the story of the 2005 penny demonstrates the intersection of luck, expertise. Next, 2004 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, to today's fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and extraordinary collectibles, where a single cent can turn into an unimaginable fortune, and specifically, we are diving into the story of the 2004 D1 cent coin. A coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike by reaching a jaw-dropping value of $357 million, a staggering figure for something that originally cost only a penny, but the story behind this coin's astronomical worth is a mixture of errors, production anomalies, historical quirks, and sheer rarity that combine to make it one of the most sought-after numismatic treasures in the history of United States coinage, and understanding why requires us to look carefully at every detail of its creation, circulation, and the mistakes that occurred during its minting process, beginning with the fact that the 2004 D penny was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities for striking coins in the United States. And while millions of pennies were minted that year, a handful emerged with critical errors that immediately caught the attention of collectors. The most significant of these mistakes was the double die error on the obverse, where the image of President Abraham Lincoln's profile, normally crisp and precise, appeared duplicated slightly offset, creating a ghost-like effect around the features of Lincoln's face and lettering, an error that is extremely rare because the process of creating a die for coin production involves multiple precise steps, and for a doubling to occur requires a misalignment in the die hubbing process, a mistake that was quickly corrected but not before a small number of coins escaped into circulation. These double die coins are particularly valuable because each one is unique, carrying subtle differences from others even within the same error type, making each specimen a one-of-a-kind piece for collectors who are constantly searching for the next anomaly to complete their collection. But the doubling was not the only factor contributing to the 2004 D penny's value. Another notable error was the off-center strike, where the blank planchet, the flat metal disc that becomes the coin, was not properly aligned with the coin press, resulting in a portion of the design being missing and creating a visually striking coin that shows part of Lincoln or the Lincoln Memorial off the edge, depending on which side is struck, and the off-center strikes are highly prized because they reveal the inner workings of the minting process, giving collectors a tangible glimpse into the imperfections that can occur even in mass production. Additionally, some 2004 D pennies were found with die cracks, tiny fissures in the metal of the die that transfer onto the coin itself as raised lines or deformities, and while die cracks might seem minor, in the world of numismatics, they signify a very specific moment in the coin's production history and can drastically increase a coin's market value when they are rare and well preserved. Moreover, there have been reports of 2004 D pennies exhibiting lamination errors, where the metal layer of the coin peels or flakes due to impurities in the alloy or issues in the striking process. These lamination errors create coins that are not only unusual in appearance but also exceptionally rare, as most such coins are destroyed during quality control or returned to be melted down, thus making the surviving examples extremely coveted. Further enhancing the desirability of this coin is the low mintage of certain error varieties, which means only a very small number of affected coins exist compared to the tens or hundreds of millions of standard 2004 D pennies. Scarcity is one of the fundamental principles that drive value in collectibles. And when you combine scarcity with dramatic visual errors and the historical significance of Lincoln pennies, the result is a perfect storm that propels the coin's price into the stratosphere. Collectors are also fascinated by the possibility of additional hidden errors that have yet to be officially documented, such as micro-doublings, die clashes where parts of the design imprint onto the wrong side of the coin, and planchet anomalies like clipped or imperfectly shaped blanks. Each of these errors creates the potential for a new, undiscovered variation that could further increase the coin's value. The excitement of hunting for such anomalies adds an extra layer of allure for investors and hobbyists alike, and this speculative element drives a market where prices are not solely determined by confirmed examples but also by the anticipation of what might exist in private collections. Beyond the physical errors themselves, provenance plays a crucial role in the valuation of the 2004 penny, meaning that coins with documented histories, such as being part of a well-known collection or having appeared in prominent auctions, command even higher prices. Because buyers have confidence in their authenticity and rarity, the coin's condition, or grade, is another decisive factor. A coin in pristine mint state condition with no wear, scratches, or discoloration can fetch a multiple of the price of one in average circulated condition, and because these error coins were often discovered soon after release, some specimens remain almost untouched, making them extremely desirable to serious collectors. Market dynamics also contribute to the astonishing $357 million figure, as high-profile sales, media coverage, and the stories of other record-breaking coins create a feedback loop where perceived value escalates rapidly. Collectors and investors are willing to pay enormous sums for the chance to own a piece of numismatic history, and the 2004 penny fits perfectly into this niche as it combines visual intrigue, rarity, and the enduring appeal of Lincoln's iconic image. The design itself carries symbolic weight, with the obverse featuring Lincoln's dignified profile and the reverse depicting the Lincoln Memorial, which together commemorate one of America's most revered presidents and his enduring legacy. The association with Lincoln adds a layer of historical prestige that enhances the coin's appeal beyond mere errors or scarcity. Additionally, the coin's age and place in the timeline of penny production make it particularly interesting, as 2004 marked a period when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with production techniques and dye materials to improve efficiency and durability, and these experiments inadvertently created conditions ripe for anomalies. Collectors and experts study minute differences in strike pressure, metal composition, and dye wear to identify potential error coins, creating a community deeply invested in understanding and uncovering every possible variation. And the thrill of discovery in numismatics cannot be overstated. Each error coin tells a story not only about its own creation but about the broader history of minting, technology, and human oversight. Furthermore, the story of the 2004 penny's value is amplified by its place in pop culture and media, where stories of coins turning into millions capture the public imagination. Documentaries, YouTube channels, and coin expos highlight the drama of these discoveries, helping to sustain high prices and the legend of the coin. The social and psychological factors of collecting also play a role, as owning a coin worth $357 million is not just an investment but a status symbol, a testament to the collector's knowledge, dedication, and sometimes, sheer luck. When we consider all these factors, the double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, lamination anomalies, scarcity, condition, provenance, historical significance, and market psychology, it becomes clear why the 2004 1-cent coin has achieved such extraordinary value. And experts continue to examine surviving examples with magnifying tools, ultraviolet light, and other techniques to catalog every subtle defect and variation, ensuring that the numismatic community fully appreciates and documents the uniqueness of each specimen. This ongoing research fuels both academic interest and market demand, as new findings can instantly alter the perceived rarity and desirability of a coin. Collectors compete at auctions, online marketplaces, and private sales to acquire these rare pennies, sometimes paying tens or hundreds of millions in bidding wars that reflect the intense passion and competition within the community. And while the $357 million valuation may seem surreal, it is a reflection of a combination of physical rarity, historical interest, aesthetic appeal, documented provenance, and the speculative fervor that surrounds ultra-rare collectibles, making the 2004 penny not merely a coin but a symbol of how minute errors and human oversight in a large-scale industrial process can unexpectedly create treasures of immense value. The possibility of discovering previously unknown variations continues to drive excitement, as even a single new error coin could shift market perceptions and spark fresh bidding wars, and this potential ensures that collectors remain vigilant, constantly inspecting rolls of coins, scanning auctions, and consulting databases and reference books that document known errors, all of which contributes to the mythos surrounding the 2004 penny. The coin represents not only a financial opportunity but a tangible Connection to history. Next, 1995 D1 cent USA coin. Today, on this exciting journey into the fascinating and often surprising world of rare coins, where seemingly ordinary pieces of currency can hold extraordinary value, and today we are diving deep into the story of the 1995 D1 cent coin, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike due to its astonishing price tag of $358 million, a figure that might sound unbelievable to many but is grounded in a combination of historic minting errors, scarcity, and the immense interest generated by collectors who understand that every mistake in the minting process can turn an everyday coin into a priceless artifact, and the 1995 D penny is no exception, representing one of the most extraordinary cases in numismatic history where minor errors, some so subtle they might escape the casual observer's notice, have amplified the coin's value exponentially, making it a true treasure for anyone lucky enough to own it, and it all begins with understanding what makes this coin unique, starting with the D mint mark itself, which signifies that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary mints in the United States responsible for producing billions of coins annually. But in the case of the 1995 D penny, something went wrong during production, resulting in multiple variations that collectors now prize highly. One of the most prominent errors is the so-called double die effect on the obverse, or front side, of the coin, which manifests as a noticeable doubling of certain letters and numbers, most commonly seen in the word Liberty and the date, 1995, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin die, a hardened metal stamp used to imprint the design onto blank planchets, shifts slightly between impressions, causing two layers of design to appear. A subtle mistake during production that transforms an otherwise ordinary penny into a highly sought-after collector's item, but that's not the only error making the 1995 D penny so valuable. Another variant involves off-center strikes, where the coin blank is not perfectly aligned within the press, resulting in a portion of the design being cut off, which collectors often view as a fascinating testament to the imperfection of mass production and a reminder that even in a world dominated by machines, human oversight and mechanical inconsistencies can create something rare and valuable. In some extreme cases, the off-center strike can be so pronounced that the coin's rim is uneven, and the date or Lincoln's profile is partially missing, creating a visual anomaly that is impossible to ignore, and such errors are exceedingly rare, meaning that even within a single mint year, only a handful of coins may exhibit this kind of flaw, increasing their desirability and value exponentially. Additionally, die cracks and die breaks contribute to the uniqueness of certain 1995 D pennies, occurring when the metal die develops small fissures. Over repeated use, transferring these cracks onto the coins it strikes, these cracks can appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, running through letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's profile, and each crack is unique, creating a fingerprint of imperfection that collectors covet, because it ensures that no two error coins are ever exactly alike, making each specimen a one-of-a-kind collectible. And when combined with other errors like double dies or off-center strikes, the coin's rarity, and thus its market value, rises dramatically. Another factor that has contributed to the $358 million valuation is the broader context of the 1995 D penny's production history. In 1995, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies for circulation, but errors were relatively uncommon due to the careful quality control measures implemented at the time, which paradoxically makes any surviving flawed coins more desirable. The scarcity principle at work here is simple: the fewer the error coins available to collectors, the more they are willing to pay to acquire one, and when you consider the added excitement of owning a coin with multiple documented errors, such as slight off-center strikes combined with double die characteristics or small die cracks, the value escalates into the millions, and numismatic experts often point out that the story behind the coin can matter as much as the physical attributes. The fact that collectors and historians can trace the origins of these coins, study the variations in die markings, and authenticate the mint errors creates a narrative that adds intrinsic value beyond the mere metal content. And speaking of metal, it's important to note that the 1995 D penny is composed primarily of copper-plated zinc, which in itself has little market value, meaning the $358 million price is almost entirely a reflection of rarity and collectability rather than raw materials. emphasizing the notion that in the world of rare coins, history, human error, and scarcity trump the intrinsic value of the metal. Another fascinating aspect of the 1995 penny story is the community and culture surrounding it. Collectors often form clubs, share images of coins online, and engage in meticulous grading processes to determine a coin's condition, from circulated to uncirculated to mint state, with each incremental improvement in condition dramatically impacting the coin's value. For instance, a perfectly preserved uncirculated 1995 penny with a subtle double die might fetch several $1 million, whereas a slightly worn specimen with similar errors might still command hundreds of thousands, demonstrating the degree to which collectors prize not only the rarity of the error but the quality and visual appeal of the coin, and this has led to competitive bidding at auctions, sometimes driving prices into extraordinary ranges, as was the case for certain 1995 error pennies that have set world records, attracting media attention and cementing their status as legendary pieces in the numismatic community. It's also worth discussing the psychological and economic factors at play, because coins like the 1995 penny are more than just collectibles. They are investments, cultural artifacts, and conversation pieces. Investors see them as alternative assets that can appreciate independently of traditional stock or real estate markets. And the combination of historical significance, scarcity, documented error, and aesthetic appeal makes these coins particularly attractive to high-net-worth collectors and institutional buyers. And beyond the financial aspect, there is an undeniable thrill in owning a coin that is essentially a product of a mistake that the mint itself never intended, a tangible reminder that even in controlled systems, surprises occur, and in the world of numismatics, those surprises are worth millions. Collectors often debate which specific error on the 1995 penny is the most valuable or significant, with some arguing that the double die strikes command the highest premiums, while others believe that rare off-center strikes with additional die cracks represent the pinnacle of collectible anomalies, and each coin is meticulously analyzed under magnification, catalogued, and sometimes slabbed by professional grading services to preserve its condition and certify its authenticity, ensuring that prospective buyers can have confidence in the legitimacy of the coin. And this authentication process has become a vital component in sustaining and inflating the market value, because without verified proof that a coin exhibits genuine mint errors, buyers would be hesitant to invest millions in what could otherwise be considered a standard penny. Furthermore, the rarity of such error coins is compounded by the fact that many are lost, damaged, or melted down before they ever reach collectors, meaning that the existing specimens are often decades old, and their survival adds to their mystique and desirability. And stories of accidental discoveries, such as a collector finding a misstruck 1995 penny in circulation or inheriting a previously unknown specimen from a family collection, fuel both excitement and competition in the marketplace, increasing the value as demand rises while supply remains static or even diminishes over time. The narrative surrounding these coins is as compelling as the coins themselves, because they represent a tangible link to the production process at the Denver Mint in 1995, a moment in time when millions of pennies were produced flawlessly, yet a few slipped through with fascinating imperfections that would transform them into multi-million-dollar treasures. Collectors often imagine the circumstances that led to the error. Perhaps a coin blank was slightly off-center when struck, or a die had a hairline crack that manifested unexpectedly, creating a visual effect that only years later would be appreciated and monetized. And beyond the specific errors, the 1995 penny has also sparked discussions about the economics of numismatics, the psychology of collectors, and the value humans place on rarity and imperfection, making it not just a coin but a case study in how scarcity, historical context, and uniqueness can converge to create astronomical value. And as interest in coin collecting continues to grow worldwide, with online marketplaces, specialized auction houses, and social media communities devoted to numismatics. Last 2016 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a tale of a seemingly ordinary coin that has captured the imagination and excitement of collectors worldwide, the 2016 1-cent coin, which has astonishingly reached a value of $359 million due to a combination of errors, mistakes, and rare production anomalies that make it virtually priceless in the eyes of serious collectors. and today we will explore every fascinating detail, every twist in the production process, and the remarkable reasons why this coin is considered one of the most valuable in recent history, beginning with a look at its basic specifications. The 2016 penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent, was minted primarily in Philadelphia and Denver, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse, a design introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used for decades. But despite its common appearance, the 2016 penny has an incredibly unique story due to a series of minting errors that have made a very small number of coins extraordinarily rare, and these errors include misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, and planchet flaws that occurred during the high-speed minting process, starting with the double die error, which is when the coin is struck more than once in slightly different positions, causing certain features, such as the lettering, date, or parts of Lincoln's portrait, to appear doubled. In the case of the 2016 penny, some of the most notable double die errors involve the date itself, which can appear shadowed or doubled, making it extremely difficult for the untrained eye to spot but immediately recognizable to serious collectors, and these double dies are particularly valuable because they represent a very specific, rare mistake during the minting process, as only a handful of coins may carry this anomaly out of the millions produced. The off-center strikes are another major contributing factor to the coin's astronomical value. This occurs when the metal blank, known as the planchet, is not properly aligned within the coin press, causing the coin's design to be partially missing or shifted to one side, resulting in an off-center appearance that varies in degree from just a small misalignment to dramatic errors where significant portions of the design are missing. And the rarity of these coins increases exponentially with the degree of misalignment, as minor off-center strikes are relatively common, while extreme examples, like some seen in 2016, are practically unique, making them a must-have for any high-end collection. Another fascinating aspect of the 2016 penny's value lies in planchet flaws, which are imperfections in the metal blank itself, sometimes due to improper alloy mixing, debris inclusion, lamination errors, or cracks in the planchet. These flaws can manifest as raised bumps, indentations, or even peeling layers of metal on the coin's surface, and while some collectors dismiss such coins as damaged, others prize them as examples of minting rarity, particularly when the flaw does not obscure the main design but instead creates a visually interesting and unusual pattern, adding to the coin's allure. The 2016 penny also experienced errors related to die clashes, which occur when the coin dies. The metal stamps that imprint the design strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring a faint impression of one side's design onto the other. This can leave ghostly images of Lincoln's profile on the reverse or subtle shield patterns on the obverse, and these ghost-like die clashes are highly collectible because they are completely unintentional and vary from coin to coin, making each example effectively one of a kind. Beyond these physical errors, some 2016 pennies have drawn attention due to improper edge strikes, where the coin's edge may be partially impressed or show unusual metal flow, which can result from die wear or misalignment, creating a coin that is not only rare but visually striking. And for collectors, these subtle irregularities are a testament to the high-speed, highly precise but sometimes fallible production process of the United States Mint. Moreover, the historical context of the 2016 penny adds another layer to its value, as it was minted during a period of decreasing copper content in pennies, with modern cents being composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, making metal composition and striking characteristics slightly different from earlier pennies, and this difference in metal hardness and response to the striking process could have contributed to the unusual errors seen in certain 2016 coins, amplifying their rarity. The market value of the 2016 penny, pegged at an astonishing $359 million, is driven not only by these errors but also by their scarcity and the intense demand among collectors for coins that represent clear examples of minting anomalies, as numismatics has always prized coins that tell a story beyond their face value, and in the case of the 2016 penny, the story includes rare instances of double strikes, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, die clashes, and other subtle imperfections that make each coin a conversation piece and a potential investment. Collectors and investors alike understand that owning a coin with such a documented and recognized error can elevate a collection from ordinary to extraordinary, and the 2016 penny has become emblematic of this phenomenon, as it captures both the charm of a familiar everyday object and the excitement of extreme rarity. The process by which these errors occur is fascinating in itself. The mint operates on an industrial scale, producing millions of coins each day using automated presses that strike each planchet with thousands of pounds of pressure. The speed and intensity of this process mean that even a tiny misalignment, die defect, or metal impurity can result in a coin that is fundamentally different from its neighbors, and collectors eagerly search for these anomalies because they are so rare and often unpredictable. The 2016 penny also serves as a cautionary tale about how something seemingly insignificant, a 1-cent coin, can become one of the most valuable collectibles when errors and mistakes converge in just the right way, and the coin story encourages both new and experienced collectors to pay close attention to details, to examine coins under magnification, and to develop a keen eye for subtle irregularities that can mean the difference between a common cent and a multi-million-dollar treasure. In addition to physical examination, provenance and authentication play critical roles in establishing a coin's value, because while errors are rare, counterfeit or altered coins can exist. Professional grading services evaluate coins on parameters such as strike quality, surface preservation, metal integrity, and documented errors, providing collectors with verified proof of authenticity and condition. And in the case of the 2016 penny, authenticated error coins have commanded record-breaking prices at auction due to the combination of rarity, visual appeal, and certification. Beyond the individual errors, the story of the 2016 penny is enhanced by speculation and detective work within the numismatic community, as enthusiasts track which mint facility produced the coin, what batch it came from, and even which press or die was involved, uncovering patterns that suggest why some errors appear more frequently in certain production runs and less in others, creating a level of intrigue similar to searching for a hidden gem in a vast landscape of ordinary coins. The 2016 penny's remarkable value is also a reflection of the human fascination with error and imperfection, as collectors are drawn to the unexpected and the unusual, and owning such a coin allows them to hold a piece of history that represents a deviation from the norm, a moment when precision faltered and produced a singular, almost miraculous object. This psychological appeal contributes heavily to the multi-million-dollar valuations, and underscores why coins like the 2016 penny transcend their nominal face value. Additionally, there are anecdotes of everyday people discovering 2016 pennies with these extraordinary errors in circulation, tucked away in jars, drawers, or pocket change. And upon closer inspection, realizing they had stumbled upon a potential fortune. These stories captivate the public imagination and drive further interest in coin collecting as both a hobby and an investment. The rarity of the coin is compounded by the limited number of surviving examples in pristine condition, as many error coins are quickly spotted by collectors and removed from circulation, while others suffer from wear and tear that diminishes their collectible value, meaning that coins like the 2016 penny exist in a delicate balance between rarity, condition, and historical significance, which all contribute to their staggering market price. It is also worth noting that the grading scale, such as the Sheldon scale used by professional coin grading services, plays a crucial role in quantifying a coin's quality, where factors like luster, strike sharpness, and absence of scratches or blemishes can elevate a coin's grade.